So let's go test those. R, S, J. Today's the day we're going to shoot the 10,000 mile review of the Rivian R1T truck that's behind me. And yes, I am that guy. Not that guy, not the F350, but yeah, the guy with the satellite in the back of his truck. That's me, but you know, I like to tinker and play with gadgets. Oops, let's put you in the truck and we'll go ahead and get started when we can get back in the air conditioning. Why would I have a satellite, by the way, at the park? Well, maybe the family wants to stay connected while the other half of the family plays. We're going to talk about the 10,000 miles that I've put on the Rivian R1T and what works, what doesn't work, what I like, what I don't like. And I'm going to also give some feedback from things that I've seen along the way. Why would I bring a tape measure? Well, we'll take a look at that in just a second. I've kind of scripted out a couple things that I wanted to remember so that I can communicate that to you in this video. And while I was looking for a pin, I realized I don't have a pin. My truck is my truck is messy, okay? I'm a normal person and I'm just trying to get things going on here. So when we look down here, guys, I'm human. This is a mess. And this is one thing I need to fix. This is a foot, 12 inches, 1 foot of storage space, which is not organized. I've seen videos online where people organize those. I should probably figure out some sort of better way to organize the truck, but I don't have that solution and I've had the truck for 10 months now. Maybe you have a better solution. Maybe you have some recommendations or suggestions. I'm open to hearing those. I would love to see those in the comments. Meanwhile, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the truck a little bit more. I was watching some YouTube videos yesterday and I realized there's kind of this couple things that I've missed along the way that I didn't even realize, because once you get the truck, you start going with your day-to-day. You don't really pay attention to, you know, you're past the honeymoon stage. You've had the truck for a while and you're just driving it. And overall, to cut to the chase, I still love the truck. I love this vehicle more than I've had any other vehicle. And I think I've had every other vehicle that I've really desired, I've owned. So I'm glad to have this truck. You know, if you want to end the video there, that's it. But if you want to learn more and see what I've seen along the way, stay along for the video here. I am that guy. I like my gadgets. I like to have fun. I have, you know, 2 sets of AirPods, you know, backup just in case, because I'm typically always on the phone. And oftentimes I need to charge those. And one thing I really like about the truck itself is, yes, I can charge those and I can charge those with multiple ways. So if you take a look down here, we actually have wireless charging and that'll light up in just a second. And those are hair clips. Those don't belong to me. And that's also lit up too. So I have 2 pair. Actually, one of them's kind of damaged, so that's why I bought the second pair, in all fairness. And the wireless charging is effective. It works for the phone, it works for the AirPods. I have not actually seen it work with my watch. And speaking of wearable, I love talking about wearables because I manufacture a lot of wearables for big name clients. I finally got, this didn't come with the truck when I originally bought it. And what is this? This is the little Rivian key that you're supposed to be able to wear on your wrist. When I finally got it, say, I don't know, 8 months later, I was not able to actually open the door. And come to find out, they need to basically take the address from this key, clearly, and then pair it with the truck. And one of the 2 times when the Rivian service came out to service the truck, they were able to then pair it. So I want to take a look and show you what it's like opening the door. I know it sounds silly, but opening the door with this. And there are multiple different keys, and I will show you some of those keys along the way here, why they work, why they don't work. So I'm talking about this one right here. So let's go test those. Let's see what it's like. I'm gonna jump out of the truck here. We're gonna go ahead and lock it. I know that I can lock the truck with the card. Now the air conditioning turned off, so I'm gonna wanna get back in there really quick. Let's see how this works. I'm touching it in the same exact space. I'm moving it around. So there it is. I'm having tough, rough luck trying to get into the Rivian with this wearable. And I know that the Rivian service was able to program it for me specifically. So that works. There's a couple other vehicles on the road that have that too. Pretty fast, pretty efficient. Actually, what I end up using a lot of times is I end up using my phone as a key. I found that it's pretty effective for what I need to do. And I've actually forgotten the key fob at home while I have my phone set up. One of the benefits of having the phone set up as a key to open up the Rivian is it actually can identify you when you walk up. Now, yes, I know a lot of other vehicles, in fact, I own multiple. When you walk up to the vehicle itself, it says, hey, you're here, let me go ahead and open the doors. Well, the Rivian truck isn't so intuitive and doesn't do that. Even with my, what do I have? I have 3 keys in my hand. As I walk up, it's gonna say, hey, I don't recognize you. In fact, it doesn't even have the technology built in. But with my phone, which I believe my phone will actually open it up because I have the Bluetooth turned on. Oh, funny story. I left my other phone inside there. So as you see, none of these key cards will recognize me when I walk up unless I actually touch the door handle. I found that to be kind of a drawback, you know, coming from other vehicles that already have that technology built in. What am I looking at? When you look at the tread on the tire, you don't really think much of it. In fact, I didn't either. But if you look here, R, S, J, the president and CEO of Rivian, it's his initials. That's pretty cool. I thought, wow, when I learned about that yesterday, that is really neat. They've actually built some stuff into the truck, kind of has Easter eggs for you and me to discover along the way. I thought that was really cool. It has RJ's initials built into the tread. That's tricky. All right, one of the items that I have written on my list here is the lock and unlock for the Rivian. So oftentimes I'm sitting in the tailgate or I'm around the truck, I'm in the garage. I most often carry the key fob. I have the key fob, which is a carabiner, and it's always on my pants, but it doesn't register. The truck doesn't recognize me when I'm around the truck with just the key fob. And it's kind of annoying because the truck will lock after a few minutes, maybe 4, 5, 6 minutes, the truck will automatically lock. Well, oftentimes I'm in my garage, or recently I've been playing in the back with the Starlink, the satellite, and it just locks. And I take a foot or a step forward and it unlocks. Of course, because I have my phone key that's turned on. So the truck is constantly locking and unlocking, even when I'm within a close distance. Honestly, it shouldn't be locking and unlocking, and it's kind of annoying. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I wish they could maybe update the key fob that's a little bit more intuitive and would be able to read whether I'm in the proximity or vicinity of the truck itself. Another thing I have seen recently, and I'm gonna have this corrected. Come with me outside again, sorry about this. Check this out. It's probably kind of loud. I'm not sure if you can even see this here, but there's a little paint kind of wearing away on the ultrasonic distance sensor. It's not like it on this distance sensor. This is a different type of plastic, but this is actually a painted plastic. And I'm gonna have to bring this up to Rivian and the support, but I did notice that along the way here. I wanted to bring that to your attention. So you have to kind of be aware. I mean, that can happen to any vehicle. Maybe the sensor has moved along the way and the paint is kind of scratched off. Not a big deal. I'm sure that Rivian support is going to take care of me, but you know, it's within my 1 year. I'm gonna have them take a look at that. A few months back, Rivian released an update where the truck will actually lower the height because it's an air suspension. It lowers the height, making it easier for someone like myself or my family to get out of the truck. It's not so high. I really like that. I know that other vehicles also have that, but you know, it's unique to Rivian, and recently it was updated. So it makes it easier for me. You know, I'm not the tallest guy, I'm not the shortest guy, but it makes it more convenient for me to jump out of the truck. That's called the kneel mode. And I really like where the truck kind of kneels down and allows you to get out. When you put it in drive and you start to drive away, the truck will actually raise up to the height that was preset before you actually started driving. Another thing I think is a huge benefit is the efficiency of the truck itself. Check this out. So over here, I'm hoping you can see this. Over here, right there, 2.94 miles per kilowatt hour. Does that make sense? 2.94 miles per kilowatt hour. That's fantastic. This is a huge truck. This truck is 7,000 pounds. And if you compare this truck with other vehicles, other EVs, this is not very aerodynamic. And for it to get nearly 3 miles per kilowatt hour, that is huge. So if you take a look at the battery size, Off the top of my head, this is 135, which I don't think you get all, but it's 135 battery pack. And if you take 135 and you multiply by the number, the efficiency, that's going to get you your range. Well, typically when I pull it out of the garage and I'm in conserve mode because I'm trying to optimize the miles that I drive, I get around 293 miles when I leave the garage in the morning. Now, if I was to do the math, and if I was to get 135 times 2.94, in the perfect world, I would be getting 396 miles of range when I leave the garage. But the truth is, I've been driving in town and I've been driving really conservative, light on the braking, light on the acceleration. And so it's rewarded me with, high efficiency. And for this truck, again, that's really nice to have that efficiency. Another thing that I use quite often, I know it's nothing new, you guys have seen it in all 100 videos that are posted online, but it has a flashlight. So when you open the door, you don't even need to get out. You push the button in the side, it's got this flashlight. This flashlight has 3 modes and it is super bright. I use this frequently. I own multiple properties and I'm constantly going to a property to take a look at what's happening. I pop it out the door, turn it on, and then it charges too. So it's always charged up, which I really find to be very convenient. And it might have been said that there are 7,776 batteries in the truck, and that is the 7,777th battery in the truck. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, another thing I really feel like it's important to mention on this video is driving and the expectations when you're driving a vehicle in 2020, well, whatever year we're in, 2023 now. The Driver Plus, I'm really not satisfied with how it does the lane keep. I'm not satisfied with the adaptive cruise control. Oftentimes I'm driving down major freeways, major highways, and it disengages. When you're going through toll booth area, especially, if you're driving on some of the tolls in Central Florida, you might have 8 tolls to 10 tolls, 12 tolls to even get to where you're going. And the Driver Plus will actually disengage and start dinging and beeping, and alarms will go off and says, take over, take over. And you have to, click the button and make sure that you're in control. And of course, I'm always here, I'm always driving and always in control, but it's just kind of frustrating because my other vehicles will just keep going through the tolls because they are overhead, ultra high frequency RFIDs that don't even interfere with the driving, but Rivian hasn't quite figured that out yet. So again, I find that to be challenging. Now, one thing that I used to have, I'll be honest, when you buy an electric vehicle, you want to buy the largest battery pack that you can. And you don't realize that the battery pack is basically going to get you further. You're going to be able to go further without charging. And one thing I used to have was what they call range anxiety. Now, this range anxiety it's real. It's I thought it was kind of fake before I had an electric vehicle. You heard it, but I don't really have that range anxiety anymore with the Rivian because I get 293 miles when I pull it out of the garage in the morning. But sometimes I do day trips, sometimes I do road trips, and I have a little uncertainty there because, for example, I was driving to South Florida in the past couple of weeks, and I don't know, last weekend, the weekend before that, I didn't know the area that I was driving to, and so I had to do a little bit of research. And I'm more of a homebody. I stay around my town, and I don't go out of the town very often. But then when I do, I'm concerned that, where can I charge? And I was driving with other people that had to be somewhere at a special time. And so for me, it was a little stressful because I would be arriving. Now, here's another thing. I'm going off into a tangent, but I'll be back to where I'm talking about this range anxiety. I was arriving with 80 miles left on the battery. And honestly, that's good. And something that's really good on the Rivian is it's pretty accurate. If it tells you there's 80 miles or 10 miles or whatever that number is, it's pretty good. It's not going to exaggerate. But the truth is, I was arriving at 80 miles. I was in South Florida. And if you've been in South Florida, you might be sitting in traffic for hours waiting to go, a couple miles. And so I was really concerned with where I was going to be going. I finally got there, and I'm posting another video on my experience with the Blink charging network. It was my first interaction with Blink, and in all fairness, I did buy Blink stock during 2020, I think it was, and I no longer own Blink stock, but I know who they are, and so I did my first experience charging with the Blink network, and I was not so happy. I was, personally, I was on vacation when I arrived at where I was going. And so I had some stress trying to charge the vehicle. And you have to check out my other video where I was charging at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami with the Blink charging network. It was kind of, I think, an overall experience that I've seen a lot of people post about. You need to be aware of what's happening when you get there. But I think that that's no fault of the Rivian itself. That's just the charging network. But when I come back to the range anxiety, which I'm talking about now, the range anxiety is real, but when you're driving a Rivian, I think it really doesn't exist because you kind of go back a little bit. It has larger battery pack, and you don't really have to worry about that so much. Now, I have noticed when I charge to 100% on the Rivian, I've discovered a little secret, and I've mentioned it in the past videos, probably about 8 months ago, that when you're at 100% and you start driving away with 293 full miles on your battery, you could probably go 10 or 15 miles before you even see that 293 drop to 292. And I call that a hidden reserve. It's like your gas tank has a reserve once you get to the bottom. Well, the battery has a hidden reserve at the top when you're charged to 100%. So I found that to be pretty cool, and I wanted to bring that up in this 10,000 mile review, that it exists. Over time, I'm not sure. I haven't been able to rate it, or I haven't tracked the data, but I'm curious to know if that hidden reserve is kind of being depleted as the battery gets used and broken in more and more. If you know, I'd be happy to share it in the future and learn, and post it in the comments if you do know. I think that's important. Now, another thing I would like to mention here, and this isn't a complaint, it's just an observation. The driver's side door has to be closed harder than the rest of the rest of the 4 doors here on the Rivian. And I don't know how many times myself or the passengers have closed that door and then had to reopen it and close it. Not a big deal, but I think that there's some sort of alignment or something off a little bit. But you know, I thought I'd bring that up. I've forgotten that in past videos, and I thought that would be pretty important. Another thing I've noticed, let's jump out of the truck over here and let's take a look at some alignment. It's not a big deal, but it's just an observation, and you won't see it unless you have kind of a dirty truck. So let me jump out and show you what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm talking about. So there is this alignment on the truck, has never been an issue for me. It's probably hard to see here, but when you look at the 2 doors, when they come together, right here. Now, I'm gonna take some of that dirt off, and you can see that right there. So this alignment, when you can see that it's off, not a big deal. Honestly, I don't care. I just wanted to bring that up because I am seeing that. I don't see it up here, but mostly here. And when I check the driver's side, walk around to the driver's side, I don't see it very easily. So it's pretty smooth right there. So that's just something that I did observe in the past. Not a big deal. Other vehicles, I know that they have some pretty big inconsistencies when they're doing, the manufacturing of those other products. But, I wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay. Something I thought was kind of cool, kind of novel when I bought the Rivian, it has the gear tunnel in the back, and it has 2 doors. And in the past, I had a difficult time, to push the button to open the door. I learned that you have to make sure that it's unlocked. If you don't know, you don't know. And then once it's unlocked, you push the button, you hold it down, and it opens. And I have found that gear tunnel has been super helpful. I put everything in there, shoes, clothes, golf clubs. I've even put my tools in there. I have a tarp in there right now. I have camping chairs in there. It's so helpful because I don't want to put it inside the truck itself, but I don't want it to be in the truck bed. And so that is kind of a really happy medium for me to be able to use. And I thought, again, it was novel, but it's very useful. And it's on both sides, and it's pretty convenient to open up. Something I didn't use, honestly, until recently, more and more, is the gear guard cable. Why am I using the gear guard cable? Well, the gear guard cable, it has a special lock in the back of the truck, and we'll go take a look at that now. It has a special lock in the back of the truck, and so if you wanted to put a barbecuer or a bike or kayak, I don't know what you would have in the back of your truck. Barbecue, I don't know. Me, I got the Starlink back here, so it's kind of silly. Yes, I know, it's kind of silly. But it's unlocked, And I've been using this more and more, and it's more of a deterrent for the Starlink. So as I have it connected there, it's also linked to an alarm. So if this was to be broken, then I would be able to be notified. But I have the security in knowing that that is connected back there. That makes me feel good. And honestly, I haven't really used it until recently. I did use it one time and I posted another video on how I used it in the past. If you're not used to driving the Rivian, there is no glove compartment, or depending on where you're from, no jockey box. And as an alternative, below the seats here, they have 2 doors that have a latch that open up. And there's not a whole lot of space there, but it's very handy for napkins. And when you find yourself driving on the road, it's easy to reach down and pull out a napkin. I also keep my registration there. So if I ever have any unfortunate issues that I need to come up with the license and registration, it's also there. So it's just kind of getting used to. It has this, huge, deep 12-inch pocket down in the armrest of storing a bunch of stuff. But honestly, what usually happens to me, let me show you. I'll show you the reality. Here, I'll show you the reality. I mean, I'm human. This is what usually happens. My stuff really just gets thrown down there. And then I used the camp speaker yesterday, and I had to move all this stuff out of the way to get it. There's storage. This compartment's nice. I like to keep lens cleaners down here, and then I use this for my trash. But the truth is, the storage, it's cool, it's different. You just kind of have to get used to it. And other people in my family don't really like how I store stuff down there. But the reality is I use my truck daily, and I'm constantly in here, and it's convenient to throw it down there. Where it becomes inconvenient is, well, when you're digging through the pile looking for stuff. But honestly, that's the reality of it. Something I want to mention, because gas prices have come down in the past year throughout the United States, and I genuinely think through the world, is my cost of charging this. I pay about 11 cents per kilowatt hour where I am. And if you take a look at the price, it's about 5 cents per mile what I drive. So I feel good about that. It's very effective and very efficient. Another thing I wanted to mention here, last thing I want to mention, is when I go to roll the windows up or down, let's go ahead and try this. When I go to roll the windows up or down, I want to push the driver's side window down. Cool, I stop it, bring it back up. There's haptic touch on each of those buttons. And I have found in my truck itself, on all of them, all of the windows, when I go to push up or down, sometimes I have to push it twice. It's a minor inconvenience, but at the same time, I shouldn't have to even feel that it's an inconvenience. It should just happen. I wanted to point that out and let you know that that is basically all I have to complain about for the truck itself. This is my 10,000 mile review on the Rivian truck, and I am trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. If you feel it's been worthwhile, please share it, please subscribe. And at any rate, I really appreciate you coming along with me on the ride today for the YouTube video. Cheers.